This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
Alrighty, well, here we go. The first show of October right here on the new Frat House Sports Show. And you know, Sidekick, October always signals a number of things in sports, but by far, the one thing, the stereotypical thing for me, the one quintessential event associated with October is postseason baseball.
The one constant through all the years
I
has been
called
baseball.
a last-minute audible this afternoon and changed tonight's lineup just a bit. And we're going to kick it off tonight with a little Major League Baseball. As we're going to run around the diamonds just a bit, take a look at where the playoffs, which are actually starting, in my opinion, right now, for the first time now that we've gotten past those, well,
play-ins.
Yeah, one-game play-ins, if we want to call those playoffs, which, by the way, were won by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the National League and the Tampa Bay Rays in the American League. Now, over in the National League divisional series, which began this afternoon, we've got the Pittsburgh Pirates opened up their best of 5 series against your St. Louis Cardinals. That game is currently ongoing. Where do we have it? Is it going on over my shoulder, or isn't it?
Yes, it's going on over your shoulder. And the Cardinals currently lead 9-1.
9-1. So
in
you
the
guys,
8th inning.
Looks like you guys are going to win game 1 of that one. That will be followed by the Los Angeles Dodgers traveling to Atlanta later this evening. That game kicks off right after this one, I believe, take on the Braves. Now, both of the American League divisional series begin tomorrow, starting off in the afternoon with the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Boston Red Sox. And then later tomorrow night, in fact, it's actually a fairly late game here on the East Coast, the Detroit Tigers head west to the Oakland A's. I wanted to get your thinking on some of these real quick. And if we need to, we'll jump back to the National League one. But any surprises in any of these that you are anticipating?
No, not really.
So, I mean, obviously, Boston would be the favorite on that one. The Oakland A's would be the favorite on that one. Atlanta would be the favorite in theirs, and St. Louis would be the favorite in theirs as well.
Sure.
Do you pretty much see it going that way, that those 5-game series will end that way?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And to all those Pirate fans, enjoy it while you can, because it's not going to last long.
Albeit, I want to throw out, hey, listen, those guys have been waiting 21 years to get the Pirates back in there, and you got to give them a tip of the hat, I think. I'm going to give them
a swift kick out the door.
I'm going to give them a tip
as
of the
the Cardinals advance. Sorry. You're talking about my Cardinals.
I understand.
Don't you give me none of your back talk.
All right, before we jump off of baseball, I just want to bring everybody up to date real quick. This season, I participated in a fantasy baseball league for the first time ever.
Of course you did.
Talked into it a little bit. This one was run by our buddy Jim Williams over at the Touch Mall Internet, along with the crew from Touch Mall Internet-based radio show. And for being a first-timer in fantasy baseball, well, I thought I actually did pretty well, and I represented Frat House Sports. I thought I represented everybody here very, very, very well. Tied for first with a 17-6 record for the season, and came in 3rd overall following the playoffs. So I thought.
So you're like the Texas Rangers of the fantasy baseball league, huh? First place division, and then go nowhere in the playoffs.
Well,
Is that the best you got, huh? Is that the best you can do?
do a nice job representing the Frat House well, and I still take abuse. All right. What do you say we get back to our regular lineup?
Yep.
With some NASCAR chat as we watched the 3rd race of the chase last Sunday from Dover International Speedway. And, I got to give you had mentioned it in a couple of shows ago, Sidekick, that it was just a matter of time before we saw Jimmy Johnson, going ahead. Well, he led the most laps this past weekend, 243 of them, and ended up in the winner's circle just ahead of Dale Jr. But more interestingly to me than anything else was that all of the drivers in the top 10 were chase drivers, including Kyle Busch, who secured his third in a row top 5 finish. Now, you would think with so many of the chase drivers making the top 10 that the chase leaderboard would have gotten really kind of shook up, maybe perhaps a little bit. I mean, 10 of them, you would expect to see some movement. Well, there is the leaderboard at this moment, and I got to ask you, Sidekick, what's talking to you right now this week? What's talking to you?
I find it funny you say you thought there would be more movement.
I did.
And actually, if you look at it, who moved and who didn't move,
Right.
of the 13 positions, 10 positions changed.
Okay, well, there you go.
So, obviously,
Now,
Matt Kenseth stayed where he was, Logano stayed where he was, and Kane stayed in the basement.
Right, okay.
But all
is
the other
anything
positions
else jumping
changed.
out at you at this point right now? I mean, we talked a little bit about last week. You had indicated that, hey, Casey Kane probably, you were calling him out of it pretty much after race 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, is this still very, very competitive? And if not, where would you put the line at this point? Where are you cutting it off?
Absolutely. I don't know if I'm putting a line up there quite yet.
Exactly. That was my thinking as well.
It's still, obviously, I think Kane's done.
Okay.
And Logano, maybe, Edwards, these guys. But I think, top 6 at least, they're, it's still anybody's game. It's still early.
Now, following this week, we've got chase race number 4 coming up. Following this week, we got Kansas. Perhaps maybe by next week at this time, we're going to start seeing, some drivers pulling away, I would think. So by next week at this time, we might be talking about cutting.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm almost going to give this race to Kenseth.
Okay.
He's won the last 2 Kansas races since it's been repaved. So I got a feeling you're going to see him in the winner's circle again.
Wow.
But Jimmy Johnson also runs really well at Kansas.
That would be his 10th win. Wouldn't that be his 10th win of the season? Holy smokes.
Well, here's another stat for you. Of the quote cookie cutter courses, okay, Matt Kenseth has won more than half of those races this year.
Yeah.
Of the I think it's seven. It's an odd number. It's like 7 or 9 of the races are on cookie cutter courses, and he's won more than half of those.
All right.
So
Well, there you go. And as we just pointed out, chase race number 4, we're heading out to the 1.5 mile Kansas Speedway this Sunday. Pre-race coverage, you can catch up, begins at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. And going into chase race number 4, like Jimmy Johnson, well, I'm only 8 points out of the lead for the chase in our fantasy league. I'll be putting that. Yeah, I'm going to be putting that one up there. Yeah. And that signals our Sidekicks NASCAR fantasy picks. Brought to you by our friends down in the Baltimore area at Herb FM Sports Internet Radio. Check them out at www.herbfm.com. What do you got for us in fantasy?
Well, I guess the first thing I want to bring up before I get the actual picks is, and we were kind of talking about this pre-show, but I'm going to have to post this on the Frat House page. But have you seen this creepy commercial with Casey Kane where he's milking a cow, talking about he's working on his grip for races? It's just so creepy.
You brought this one up pre-show. We're going to see if we can find this one out on YouTube.
I'm going to have to post it. It's a farmer's commercial, and it just creeps me out every time I watch it.
Be looking for that one over on our Frat House Sports Facebook page. We'll get it up over there.
Yep. So let's go on to our picks here at Kansas. So we're going to go with some obvious choices here. Matt Kenseth, he's 28.75, and by the way, this is the big spender roster this week. Jimmy Johnson also 28.50. Now as I just alluded to, since the repave at Kansas. Damn.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Matt Kenseth has won all the races since the repave. But Jimmy Johnson's also won his handful of races there. So those are obvious 2 picks for your roster.
Okay.
Then we're going to go with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's $16.50. Casey Mears is $13. And my lucky dog, sponsored by Herb FM Sports, goes to the Dinger, AJ Allmendinger, who is $11.
How about that?
And that takes the roster to $97.75.
All right. There you go. All right. Chase race number 4 coming up this Sunday. Just 6 more thereafter. All right. Listen, before we jump off of motorsports, Things got really, really interesting last weekend in NHRA's countdown matchups number 3 out in St. Louis.
Yep.
So with just 3 nationals remaining, let's take a look at the leaderboard over there. And over in Top Fuel, Sean Langdon untied it. You might remember I mentioned it was tied.
Yep.
He's currently now 33 points ahead of Doug Kaleda and 35 points ahead of Spencer Massey. In our favorite, the funny car division, Matt Hagan still holds the top spot, but his lead has been shrinking every week since week 1 of the countdown. Currently, Hagan is only 6 points ahead of John Force. Fast Jack Beckman is in 3rd, 44 points out of 1st. And in Pro Stock, well, of course, Mike Edwards is back on top, just 10 points ahead of Jake Coughlin and 30 points ahead of Jason Line. But the feel-good story over there, coming from the St. Louis win, was our Frat House Sports favorite, Erica Enders-Stevens, who missed 1/4 of the season due to a lack of sponsorship. Well, she actually won in St. Louis, and she's currently, right now, she's going to remain in the countdown. She's currently in 4th place now that she's got sponsorship for the remaining, I guess it's 3 now, all right, that we've got coming up. And so what we've got coming up, we've got our 4th of the 6 countdown nationals coming up this coming weekend. And that is just down the road from us at Maple Grove Raceway out in Reading, Pennsylvania. And so we'll be bringing you an update on that one in a couple of weeks because NHRA is going to get a couple of weeks off after Maple Grove. Alrighty? All right, there you go. That's our motorsports. Hey, what do you say? Let's go get, how about we get some football going?
Sure.
And now, 4 minutes of football.
Alrighty, I got a question for you. What in the hell is going on down in Tampa with Josh Freeman and the Buccaneers? The Bucs, in my opinion, have suddenly supplanted themselves as the new New York Jets South. As a dysfunctional team that they are, we've had rumors that head coach Greg Schiano, well, he's lost the locker room. Then Josh Freeman's the starter, but then he's not the starter, but then he's not the team captain. And then
you got Darrelle Revis.
Then he doesn't show up for team pictures. And
yep.
Now he's out as a starter. Now he's off. We got late news, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Now he's off the team completely.
Yep, got released.
There was a report also this past week that Freeman was in a drug rehab program, phase 1 of the NFL drug rehab program. Schiano's coming out vehemently denying that, in fact, he had anything to do with leaking that. What in the hell is going on? It looks to me, and I'm going to get your opinion, like Freeman has been targeted and, in fact, set up. What's your thinking?
Well, I don't. I read an article today saying that he voluntarily entered the program because he switched his ADHD medicine from, I believe, from Adderall to Ritalin or vice versa. It's just a bad situation, He hasn't been playing well. They were looking to trade. I doubt that the Bucs leaked it. Now, somebody in the organization
leaked it.
But, that would have hurt his trade value, so I doubt Schiano really went through that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a $500,000 fine if they find out who did it.
Yep.
All right, listen, for the second time this season, it was announced the other day that the AFC Offensive Player of the Week was, well, not Peyton Manning, or it wasn't Jamal Charles or Demaryius Thomas. Hey, how about it was San Diego Chargers QB Phillip Rivers, second time. The last time he was Player of the Week even once was 5 years ago in 2008. So my question to you, Sidekick, is Rivers having a resurgent year this year for the Chargers? Is that what we're seeing here?
I believe so. I mean, this second time this year, both times he's got it, he's thrown for over 400 yards.
Correct.
They both have been against AFC or NFC East teams.
Right.
It was first against the Eagles, and now against the Cowboys. But honestly, we can't give this award to Peyton every week. Cue the Peyton record watch segment now. What record is Peyton broken now?
I'm not suggesting that Peyton should be getting it every week, but
but this is this is unexpected.
Yeah.
We expect Peyton to be out there playing well.
Right.
Whereas I think the award should go to somebody who we're not expecting this kind of performance from, which is why you see Philip Rivers.
I'm just curious
this.
to see whether, in fact, it's going to mean something for the Chargers. All right, last but not least, Don Banks, a columnist for Sports Illustrated, put an article out this week that openly questioned whether Houston Texans quarterback Matt Schaub might just be playing his way out of a job, perhaps out of town. In fact, there were reports this week that the Texans fans were in fact burning Schaub jerseys in the parking lot of the stadium. This has got me a bit confused. The guy right now is ranked number 8 in QBs in the entire league. All right, the numbers aren't great. 8 TDs, 6 interceptions, 65.5 completion percentage. And he's got a QB rating of 85.7. What, in fact, are the fans looking for? I mean, what do they want? They want TJ Yates, really? I mean, seriously, what's the deal here?
Well, honestly, slow up the bus a little bit.
Agreed.
We've got a quarterback in a slump. He's now where everybody's pissed off is he's thrown 3 pick sixes he's thrown a pick 6 in 3 consecutive games. Mm-hmm. But now let me tell you one thing though. There's 2 other quarterbacks in the league in the last 20 minutes or last 20 years that have done that.
Right.
One is your boy, Peyton Manning.
Yep.
The other is John Elway.
It's my quarterback.
So, yes, he's in a slump, and it's frustrating. And should you possibly look at benching TJ Yates possibly, putting TJ Yates in and kind of, let him try to work through it,
I think that's an extreme situation. It just struck me because suddenly it's looking like the Texans fans are suddenly emulating New York or Philadelphia fans. I just didn't get it. What in the world? Anyhow.
Yeah. I do want to.
Yes.
Some breaking news. Mm-hmm. It is official. Game 1 has gone to the Cardinals.
There you go.
It just ended. So
Game 2 is tomorrow, actually. 2.
Yep.
And I believe that's an early. I think that's an afternoon game as well. I believe I have to check on that one. But Game 2 for that NLDS series tomorrow. All right. All right, let's stick with football. And hey, let's get over right to it right now. And let's take a look at our picks for Week 5. Brought to you by our friends. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say brought to us by our friends at CLW83.
You got it.
Man. See, I'm trying to get it moving this week because trying to keep under 30 minutes for everybody to watch. So I get tongue-tied sometimes.
Now listen, be sure, with CLW83, make sure you're checking out their original podcasting and all their network programming over the internet. Excuse me. All right, now, our first game of the week is the Kansas City Chiefs, at the Tennessee Titans. A little unusual this week, but all of our games happen to be the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. All right? And we got the Kansas City Chiefs, as I pointed out, at the Tennessee Titans. Surprisingly unbeaten Chiefs go on the road to Tennessee to go up against a team that is quietly tied for first in the AFC South. The Chiefs dominated the lowly Giants last week, 31-7. Alex Smith was good. He wasn't great. 3 TDs, 2 interceptions. It's an Andy Reid team, so we're still seeing offense in the air at a rate of twice of what you're going to see coming off the ground from the likes of Jamal Charles. The Chiefs' defense is a strong point. Keeping pressure. They kept pressure on Eli Manning all game long last week. And generally, they're holding teams to an average of 10.3 points a game. The Titans last week put a licking on the other lowly New York team, the Jets, 38-13. But the story here is that Jake Locker is listed as out indefinitely. And according to a USA Today article out this afternoon, he may not see time on the field much before early November. So the big question is, can Ryan Fitzpatrick hold it together for the next 3 games? The Chiefs' line has increased to a 3-point favorite on the road, and we may be looking at a 5-0 start for Andy Reid over there. What do you think the likelihood of that happening is?
Time's yours.
Bingo. Well, honestly, with Jake Locker out, I'm going with my stud fantasy defense that Jen so appropriate teed me off to. That has been keeping me in our fantasy football. They've been doing well. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs to go 5-0.
I've been a Fitzpatrick fan. I was a Fitzpatrick fan back when he was up there in Buffalo. But, however, I think there's been too much turmoil going on with the Tennessee Titans. And again, as I pointed out, they've quietly gotten to where they are. I think they're going to quietly whimper out of Sunday's game. I'm giving it to the Chiefs as well. All right, another 1 o'clock game, and that's the Baltimore Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. And a couple of questions here. Hey, did anyone expect the defending Super Bowl champions to be 2-2? How about, did anyone expect the Ravens to be favored, who were favored last week by nearly 4 points, to lose to the Buffalo Bills? Did anyone expect the Ravens' $120 million quarterback to be ranked 27th in QB rating? In fact, Flacco's rating last week against the Bills was 46.4 with 5 interceptions. How about this for a stat? The Ravens last week were 3 of 16 on third down conversions. I can't do any more. I can't do any more stats for the Ravens. No, let's get off of the stats
Quote
for them.
the frat house Mike, nevermore.
Let's take a look at the other side. Going into Monday night, the Dolphins were 3-0, but the similarly unbeaten New Orleans Saints made the Fins look like they were an 0-3 team, beating them 38-17. Tannehill did not have a very good evening himself, throwing 3 interceptions of his own. Drew Brees was absolutely a surgeon. If you scan the box score of the Miami-New Orleans game, it makes no wonder whether the Dolphins just, it makes one wonder, are the Dolphins really good enough to compete against the other super powerhouses in the league at this particular point? Every single stat, they absolutely dominated. Nonetheless, the Dolphins right now are favored by 3 over the Super Bowl champs. Where do you have this one going at this point?
Well, the Fins are going to be looking to rebound after that trashing that they just got.
Yep.
That the Aints gave them on Monday night. And the Ravens just can't seem to get in the air. So I'm going with the Fins to win this one.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going with my... Yep.
And it's my bomb diggity bomb.
It might be
pick
both
of the
of our
week.
bomb diggity bombs.
Yeah.
How do you like that one? Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Two bomb diggity bombs.
Bomb.
I'm going with Miami as well. The numbers just... I don't get the Ravens this year. They're just... It's not the same team. And I'm not saying Miami... Because, frankly, as I pointed out, I think that I don't know whether they're going to be competitive against the bigger, really stronger teams. But in this particular case, Baltimore, going with Miami.
Well, it might be that $120 million they spent on the kryptonite rings.
Third game of the weekend. 1 o'clock as well. Here we go. Seattle Seahawks at the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Seahawks came back last week from a 20-3 halftime deficit against the Houston Texans to score 20 unanswered points of their own and went on to win that 23-20. Now, between the numbers, though, if you go take a look at box scores again, you're going to see that Russell Wilson had, in my opinion, another mediocre performance. He's currently the 25th ranked quarterback in the league. Now, it leads one to question whether Wilson is just getting lucky this season, sitting on one of the unbeaten teams in the NFL. The 3-1 Colts made this, in my opinion, the most difficult pick for me this week. The Colts won their 3rd game of the season last week against the Jaguars, if you want to call beating the Jaguars a win. The fact is, Andrew Luck this season, despite the 3 wins, has been just about as mediocre, in my opinion, as Wilson. And so this matchup has to come down to the defenses. Seattle's defense dropped from number 1 last week to number 6 this week, and the Colts defense is ranked 10th. So somebody help me out there. They're both comparable. This game comes down to, in my opinion, this game's going to come down to a running game, and that's Seattle's Marshawn Lynch. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to predict that Marshawn Lynch has a breakout game. I really do. Seahawks right now are favored by 3, psychic.
Well, you got to look at the other side of the ball, though. You got Trent Richardson,
yeah,
the new addition to the Colts.
If he's got the game book down, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's still only, a week and a half in, 2 weeks
Well,
in.
and, news coming out today, Ahmad Bradshaw may have season-ending
I've not been impressed with Bradshaw all season long, so therefore I don't even count him.
No. But so I think the key to this matchup is going to be the Seattle defense coming to the aid of Russell Wilson again this week.
Okay.
Against the Colts' second-year studs in Luck and Richardson. So I'm giving this one to the Seahawks.
I'm going to narrowly give this one to the Seahawks. Narrowly. I think it's actually a pretty even matchup. But again, I think it's going to come down to a running game, and I'm going to look for Lynch to have a big game out of this one. I think that might be the way that they're going to have to pull out.
Well, see, that's why I'm saying.
Russell Wilson.
I think it's so closely matched offensively that you have to look at defenses, and I think you have to give the nod to the Seahawks defense versus the Colts defense.
All right, there you go. All right. Last but not least, the New Orleans Saints are at the Chicago Bears, and that's a 1 o'clock game as well, our fourth 1 o'clock game. As I just pointed out, there's not really much to say about the Saints' Drew Brees. He was just absolutely incredible on Monday evening, thus his number 2 league ranking behind Peyton Manning. As I watched the game Monday Sidekick, I'm going to be honest with you, there were times I just kind of shook my head at all of the different weapons and targets that are available to Brees. Absolutely incredible as he just tore the field up, going from one to the other. And took control as well of that offense, much in the way that Peyton does. The Saints just looked positively unbeatable. Now, as I predicted, the Bears lost their first of the season against the Detroit Lions, 40-32. In just about every statistical category right now, the Bears appear to be overmatched against the Saints. The line on this game, however, interestingly, I've been watching it all week long. The line on this game has moved. On Monday, the Bears were favored by 1.5. Yesterday, this game was a pick'em, even. Today, the Saints are favored by 1. What do you think of this one? This might just be the most interesting game.
We're talking about the Saints and the Bears. Did you just put a Peyton reference in? Really?
I made a comparison of Drew Brees, the number 2 quarterback.
Come on.
The number 2 quarterback.
Come on, it's got to be a violation.
The number 2 quarterback. The number 1
You will slip in Peyton Manning anywhere you can slip him in. Is there any way we can get a crowbar between your lips and his tuchus?
Okay.
My Lord.
How about you just pick the game? Let's pick the game.
I'm going to go with the Saints.
You're going with the Saints.
Come on, the Saints are rolling, man. The Saints are marching on.
Absolutely. And just to be contrarian, I'm going to tell you right now,
He's picking the Broncos.
Just to be contrarian, I had picked the Bears yesterday, and I'm going to stick by it. I frankly think that New Orleans might just come in a little bit, bravado, and that might just bring them on down. So I'm going to pick the Bears just for the fun.
Yeah, because you can read bravado.
Just for the fun of it. And I think that might be the only game that we differed on. All right. There are our picks for this week. Many thanks to our friends Jim and Carl over at CLW83.com. Make sure you're checking them out. All right. And we appreciate them supporting us here at Frat House Sports. All right.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Jim, you failed to
make good on my promise. Yeah, I did.
No, I'm not going to get into all that.
So the Frat House is 1-1 against Mr. Williams.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You'll play him again, though, I think.
Yes.
You will play him again in your league.
Unfortunately, he's in my division.
All right. All right, let's get over real quick before we get out of here and take a look at our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week, which, it got the most activity, it got the most views, it got the most comment. And that was one that I posted up the other day describing how USC head coach Lane Kiffin was fired at the airport and not even given the courtesy or permitted to get back on the team bus to go back to the campus.
Sorry.
You got to really, really be upset with a guy to go to that extent. And, as I read through, I don't know if anybody's taking time, but I read through the past of this guy. Little iffy, huh? Lane,
Yeah.
Little bit weird.
We don't have an audible.
His relationship with Al Davis out there in Oakland was absolutely vitriolic
Yeah.
at the end. It was ridiculous. So it makes you wonder. I mean, but my God, to throw the guy out at the airport and just not even let him go back.
But, I've seen reports today
Yep.
linking our Eagles head coach
To who?
to USC and him denying that he's been contacted by USC.
It can't happen. It can't happen, dude, because he's
just
under 18 months probation as a result of the
I
sanctions from
understand,
Oregon.
but-
He cannot coach. USC needs a coach now. They're probably going to go with an interim for the remainder of this season. They'll be in coach search at the end of the season, and even then, he wouldn't be eligible for next season. So I don't believe that that's actually going to happen. All right. But listen, keep checking us out over on Frat House Sports for the latest news on any of that kind of stuff. You're going to get it right there. Frat House Sports over on Facebook. Give us a like over there. All right. Last but not least, let's take a look real quick. Here's our fantasy league. And I was making a comment, football fantasy league. I was making the comment. We've talked a lot about fantasy tonight. I was mentioning the other day, a lot. I'm thrilled with the results here. A lot of 2-2 teams in our league. I think that's terrific. That's fabulous. It's showing a lot, a lot of competitiveness. And really, it's only a 13-week league because we've got the playoffs and what have you. So very competitive, and it's anybody's league to get in on. All right? All right, there you have it. That's our show for this week. Look at that. We did pretty well on the timing.
Yep.
We'll be back at you right here next week. All right, second week of October coming up next week, and we'll be bringing you all the football and all the auto racing and all the Major League Baseball updates, just like we did this evening. We'll catch you then. You know what to do in the meantime. You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. We'll see you next week. I'm going to end up rewriting this on the fly because, of course, after, so. We'll see how this.
We'll just go.
We'll see how this goes.
I was going to say, just go with it, and then we'll say, and what we
Sure.
just found out this afternoon is.
Well, I might. I might go with
call
some
an
of
audible.
this. We might go with some of this.
Peyton?
I'm good at that. Don't worry about that. I'm good at that. Okay?
I
know
told
how to
you.
call audibles. I
told
will
you.
work with this, with what I got, and it'll come up on there, and then I'll kind of wing it from there. All right. Offensive player of the week, huh? What? And then we'll go over and take a look at Matt.
I'm surprised, though, that you're surprised. He had great stats against the Cowboys. They won the game. He scored 30 points.
Yes, that's.
Don't worry.
That's all fine and good. No, and I understand that. And I'm not saying he's not deserving. We'll get into why I'm.
Oh, okay.
Because I ask a question. I ask a very pointed question about this, and we'll get into that. All right? All right, we'll go over and we're going to take a look at Matt Schaub here for a moment. You
Should have put up the thing about
read the article that I sent over on
Yes, I
SI?
did.
Okay, good. All right.
Should have put the hamburger picture up.
Hamburger.
You didn't see the picture going around? Where a Houston
Oh, yeah, the
They
pick
had a
six.
special.
The pick
Yeah.
six, and you'll pay dearly.
Yes, I did see that.
And
yeah.
you'll pay dearly, yeah.
Should have put that up.